So maybe there is enough, it's just how efficient everyone is. Because if there's a couple cities that can do it already, it must be okay, then where are we getting the money to do it? Because we're hitting the number, meaning 70%. And so that, I think there's some argument to where, okay, maybe there is sufficient funds as well. Not that, we will always take more money.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Mayor Juan. I think there's that portion that, how do you do it right? How did those two cities have on the 70? It's possible, you guys are doing it. But the reality is that some cities are, different. Like, for example, Mendota, the whole east side of Mendota used to belong to the county. That whole thing is, very, very bad.
If I could chime in Selma, we're looking at $100 million to get up to budget in 10 years. Measure C is not gonna fund that whole thing. I wish it would, but it will help. But just to answer what you were asking on Mayor, look at the San Francisco, look at the Bay Area, they're in the 70s. Those are big money areas. Income per capita, compare our income per capita to Selma's, and it's different, and our sales tax is right behind yours because of the auto dealerships, but it gets stretched pretty thin. We still have areas in our town where there are no sidewalks. So we still have to hit those basic needs. So hitting 60 on our PCI is a goal that we can make better. But look at the amount of money it's gonna take. And we have a lot of other needs in our city, like a recreation center that we're going for right now. So there are lots of needs there that we don't have that frankly Clovis has already. So we're trying to get there. We're certainly not slackers. We're trying hard, and we want to develop and get impact fees, but there are areas in our town that are not developing where you're not going to get development and impact fees. So that's why, we're looking really closely at the PCI and looking at Measure C and the street and road allocations.
I got it. There's a couple of answers. Scott mentioned one that he talked about the Bay Area, the roads being better. You gotta remember, those counties were high tax counties before Prop 13. So like in Fresno County, when people pay the property tax, only about 13.5% stays local, where in those counties it's in the low 20s. So that's one thing. Here's another thing, this is not a knock on Clovis. Clovis is a fairly newer city, has huge amount of areas that were built in the last 30 years. So just that is going to give them better roads. The answer to Kerwin, they must be awful efficient in how they get the roads taken care of. Either that or things aren't counted correctly. And I'm not really sure on, you talked about conductivity. I think Mohammed would be the only one that knew if some of the county roads, because some of them are connectors, obviously Manny, is a connector and it's not a state highway. Jensen's a connector, it's not a state highway. Mount Whitney is a connector, it's not a state highway. So you would have to ask our staff, if they're even counted, how she counts them. They might not be counted that way.
Hey, Kalinga?
Yeah, I wanted to point out that I think that a lot of this has to do with population size and also distance to Fresno. As I look at this and I see Kalinga at 58, Fireball is at 54 on PCI, you look at Huron 46, Mendota 40, Orange Cove at 34, Wheatley at 51, San Joaquin at 34. A lot of these places are a long distance away from Fresno. They also have very low populations. So where you have a low population, you still have to pay for the same administrative staff, you still have to pay for people to go out there and do the work, but you're not getting the benefit of having those heavy tax bases into there. And to the point of what we're looking at, like how we're doing on spending that money, if you look, it looks like Kalinga is number 1 in average annual budget per mile, spending $1,958. But yet we have one of the worst PCIs. So I would say that our population and our distance to Fresno is really playing a toll into that. And I don't mean anything negative about that. I'm just saying that that is the data. So thank you.
So, and there's other occasions, and I think this is for awareness creation, of course, where the city's boundaries fit it like a glove. And additional tax revenue is not coming from ag, is not coming from oil, is not coming from any other industry. It's just what's within the city boundaries that's pretty tight, at least in our case. Therefore, we don't have these additional resources to leverage, to invest in the infrastructure. All we can work with is what we get from the county, that which is leveraged, right? Because what Measure C provides is leverage, to pull down a lot more, right? Or what we get from the state. You know, that's the only way we're able to try to get whole, but we're never whole, and it's always trying to fill that hole. You know, the fix the streets is always playing catch up in rural communities like Huron, because we have a lot of heavy duty trucks that come through. The state takes care of us with State Route 269, but these other roads, they get beaten up. 9th Street leads to a lot of the parking lot, what's left. Used to be heavy duty during the good Lechuga days, but that road gets beat up, and some of the other roads, so I'm ready to make it illegal to use heavy duty trucks on community roads, you know? But then, well, there's just so much stuff, right? But yeah, there's communities on the west side that just are always playing catch up. There's never enough resources, and so that's a problem. And the last thing I want is for my families, the hardworking farm worker families that earn not that much, but work so damn hard, to take up the burden of what needs to be invested for some of these roads where I think we could be more creative on doing that. Thank you.
Any other questions? Any from the public? Okay, hearing none, so do I have a motion? I did open it, there's no comments. Any comments from the public? Hearing none, so did you?
I motion to move forward, approve the Measure C, these, regional payment management system update.
Second from here on, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. We're going on to the next item. The next item is Measure C Safe Routes to School Program funding. Recommendation